I'm Marie Stacks, and I am here today with Mike Kuzma with UAscend. He is a director at UAscend, and we met a few months back and have had some great collaboration calls and discussions. So glad to have you today here on the Direct Perspective, Mike.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about your company and what you guys do.
Yeah, absolutely. So essentially, we're a digital marketing company that focuses specifically on healthcare medical companies, whether it's a doctor's office, dental practice, bigger group, et cetera. We focus on that because my background is working with medical companies, healthcare companies, et cetera. My wife is a nurse. So the idea is, there's a lot of digital marketing companies out there. There's not many that really understand healthcare. So anything from website development, logo design, social media, SEO, digital ads, the whole gambit as far as digital marketing goes. So, yeah.
Yeah, and you guys have a really cool solution. So I know we've gotten to dive into it a few times. So,
Thank you.
So you guys focus obviously on making progress within these companies that you work with. We're big with our AIM solution about tracking and monitoring progress. How do you monitor business progress, either in your own company or with your clients?
Yeah, great question. I mean, the key thing is goals. You need to know where you're going. You need to know where you've been. We like to use what we call SMART goals. So specific, measurable. Is it attainable, achievable? Is it realistic? And then what's the timeline? So that's kind of the starting point. Obviously, there's so many different things that go into that. But if you don't have, say, for example, you want to grow your social media following, or you want 20 new specific types of procedures, you should be able to identify that. And you should know that, okay, can I get 20 new procedures tomorrow? Maybe you can. Like, let's kind of dig into those things. And if a lot of businesses that we work with, they don't know those questions. So we try to provide that I guess baseline. Let's talk about this and figure out where do you want to go, and can we get there together? So
yeah, and I think that partnership of kind of learning and guiding each other is always helpful. Are there any particular KPIs or key performance indicators that you automatically say you've got to watch these?
Yes. And what's interesting is, from a marketing perspective, all the data that we are inundated with are data points that clients don't care about. Just being realistic, well, one of the big data measurements, if you know Google at all, it's impressions. How many people see your website listed? How many people clicked on things? Typically, those are the data points for a marketing company. And those are also pieces of data that our clients are a little bit, I would say, immune, but more so of just tell me what are the results. So what we try to do is focus on the results. You talked about AIM. We talk about SMART goals. At the end of the day, if you want new procedures, you want new patients, you want to fill up your schedule, let's focus on that. Just because someone clicked on your website, if you have a terrible website and no one's calling, that's, who cares? Like, let's do that. So specific KPIs: how much new revenue are you generating? How many new procedures, if that's what you're trying to add, if you want new patients? I mean, those are the things that we like to focus on. At the end of the day, to me, I'm a finance guy, studied business. I want to add numbers. So it's really figuring out what important numbers are there for our clients.
Absolutely. And it's funny that you're from the finance sector, and I know I came from the healthcare sector. So when we talk data, like, we're talking about the same thing, but different ways. And I love that you've kind of combined all of that together with UAscend. So, okay. So we kind of talking about data, switching gears a little bit. Your tool that you guys have collects a lot of different data points. What do you have any tips or particular tools behind that you can share?
Many a tool. That makes sense grammatically. It's what we use as kind of the root of a lot of different software programs is Microsoft. Microsoft Teams is how we collaborate. I've used Google in the past. The issue, well, I don't want to say the issue, but most practices have their own system going. And having someone switch, say, an EMR, EHR, et cetera, I mean, it is, from my experience in, say, hospitals, you transition that, it's a year. So as far as what should you be using, if you're on a primitive system or you're on a system that isn't working correctly, you should, I mean, that should be a focus point. But most of the time, people are on some kind of a system where they can integrate. So for example, Microsoft Teams, if someone is using Google, you're using Google Drive to share data, data management, et cetera, you could integrate that together. Now you can use it vice versa as well. So to me, I don't think it's crucial that you're using one software or another, because we're using so many other things that are not specific to that. There are some kind of different third-party software. It's essentially pulling that data in to make sure every arm is talking to the other. Everyone in the system can see that, so we're not duplicating efforts, etc.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point that, the tool doesn't always matter so much as that integration into your systems and your workflows and actually getting the data collected.
Yeah, I mean, you can have a very basic system. If it works, though, continue with it.
Absolutely. I've seen many companies that make many millions of dollars and their dashboard is from Excel.
Right. Yeah.
Which is, I mean, it works, right? I mean, don't reinvent it always if it works. So I guess one of the things, speaking of reporting, for many of our clients, it looks very varied. I'm sure it's somewhat for you guys as well. So when you're building out these dashboards, I know you've got one system that you guys kind of share with your clients, but do each of the dashboards get customized for those clients?
Absolutely. Yeah, everything we do is customized. What we find is that oftentimes we will customize the dashboard of the system for the client without their input. And then we realize that certain things aren't important. So now what we try to do is, hey, is this something that's beneficial for you? I mean, it's with anything in the world, just because it's a good solution, it may not fit into your workflow. So what we really try to do, I mean, we have, I guess a core of where we provide that data, but if it's something that doesn't work, we'll customize it. Most of the time, since people aren't as familiar with the metrics and the systems that we have, we'll provide it and teach them, this is what you should look for. Try to make it as user-friendly as possible, just so it's accountability. You should know what you're working with. Hey, Mike, this is what we're doing. Where do I go to see this? You can log in at any time, 24/7, and see things. So yeah, we really try to make it where each individual client we have has full visibility. We're all about transparency. Sometimes it gets me into trouble. I share so much information, but
yeah, that's, it's a conversation we have a lot of times with folks. It's like, who, once you get all this data collected, you have your dashboard, then who do you give that to? Who's allowed to see it? Who do you want to see it? And I think you hit on something really interesting of having the client give their input about what matters to them. We see that a lot in project management, especially with stakeholder engagement. So generally speaking, who do you work with the most? Who's the one that's kind of guiding you on the client side of things that you work with?
It's such an interesting topic. So in general, there's two point of contacts. It's either the business owner or their office manager or head of operations, someone who's leading the administrative tasks. And oftentimes, I would say it's probably 50-50, where who am I talking to? It's the owner. As far as stakeholder engagement, it's difficult. The bigger an organization is, when I worked for a multi-billion-dollar company, we called it complex sales. There's so many different people involved, and there's so many different aspects to consider. What I find important, no matter what, is that the people that you're engaging with So if it's a smaller practice, smaller business, and the owner is engaged with everything, okay, that's easy. Most of the time, that's not the case. Most of the time, there's other people involved. So it's crucial that everyone who is actively working with it, that they understand the benefits and they see it as, okay, Mr. or Mrs. Owner wants X, Y, and Z, but the office manager or the head of business development is on the same page, because if we share the solution, this is our goal, but the people that we're working with don't see the benefit, it really impedes things moving forward.
It absolutely does. There's been many a times, and I'm sure you've experienced this too, where you're like, oh, we've made so much progress, and you get to that last meeting and you present your results and recommendations, and it's like, that's not even on point.
Yeah,
where's
exactly.
that person been this whole time?
Yeah, I wish we were all in a room together before.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's a new chair at the table. But so I guess the end result of most successful projects is something that is systematic and sustainable. Do you guys kind of have a recipe for what that result looks like for you and your clients?
As far as working with the clients and the deliverables, or from an internal perspective?
For us, I mean, obviously we live in the project, so everything kind of has an end date. I don't really think, you work with your clients indefinitely in some cases, but at what point is it kind of considered a sustainable process? I mean, do you kind of hit, okay, here are key metrics on the dashboard, we're going to talk every 6 months, or is it constantly changing and kind of ebb and flow?
It is constantly changing, and it's all dependent on the client's wishes. From an internal perspective, we are constantly monitoring every client's movements. We have clients that are very involved. I'll get emails at 2, 3 in the morning. Mike, what's going on with this data? Hey, we started a week ago. Give us a little time. But that's, we're very transparent. We give data immediately. So we have internal things that we're doing, and I would say it's the project is never done, especially if it's a recurring client. What we normally, we will offer a path of, hey, this is what we normally do. This is what we would suggest, but it's all on you. Typically in the beginning, it's a lot more hands-on. So let's talk once a week. Let's get everyone together. Let's explain things. We'll send you a bunch of information, things that we should discuss. And as time goes on, it normally will taper off, just depending on how things are going. To me, it's better to share that information, to overwhelm communication, I should say, and then be told, hey, Mike, that's good. Let's we can pump the brakes a little bit. So we have kind of a combination of us reaching out personally, whether it's phone calls, emails, text messages, and then we also have automated reports that we provide. So it really depends on, every client is different. We do provide that. Here's a suggested path. Here's what most people in your situation do, but every business is different, and never. I should say I'm always surprised, because truly, every business is different.
Yeah. And I think that's you're absolutely right. Everyone is a little bit different in how they run their business, what they're going for with their business, but it's nice that you guys have found a solution that works across all of it, no matter the industry, it sounds like.
So. Always evolving.
Yes.
Yes.
Every good business is always changing. So.
Yes.
I guess I'll leave it with this. What is kind of your favorite thing about what you guys do, or maybe a fun success story that you want to share?
It's a matter of, my favorite ones are where people think it's an impossibility. There's no way we're going to be able to get to here. And if we can deliver the results, that they don't even have to be some kind of impossibility. It's just, hey, we need more revenue, and it's going to be difficult to get there. But when we deliver that, and now there's more revenue, now there's like our schedule is filled up. We were at $100,000 a month in revenue, and now we're at $250,000. That's exciting to me, because if our relationship is impacting you, we're delivering more revenue, we're making your lives easier. Everything about that business works better. You're in a better mood because now you don't have to worry about paying the bills. Now, if someone gets a raise, I hope this is the case. People are getting a raise. Maybe they get a little more vacation. They can hire someone else to help out. Specific stories, I could give hundreds, but it's, as a whole, is it always a success story in the timeline? Sometimes it's not realistic. Sometimes, you hit a snag. Sometimes a global pandemic happens. But realistically speaking, if we can provide the goal or surpass, we like to set low expectations and blow by them. It makes everyone's lives better. And that to me is why sales is awesome, because if I can provide something to you that benefits your life, you're going to want more of it. We can grow together exponentially. So
I love that. I love the partnership long-term, right? It's a long-term collaboration.
So true.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Mike, for joining me today. So glad to have
you. Yes, likewise. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely.